Hello everyone, welcome to the Xoro Reconcile bank account tutorial. In this little guide, we're going to walk through how to reconcile your bank account, basically how to do your monthly reconciliations. So to get started, you can open the Reconcile module. And this is assuming you've already reconciled your opening balance. So you should have an opening balance here. Or if you're continuing on from your previous reconciliations, this will be your reconciled balance. So what you can do is actually select your ending date here. So your closing date. So let's say we're reconciling March. So I'm going to make this March 31st. I'm going to put the closing balance or the ending balance for March. And then I'm going to click on Start Reconciling. So what it'll do is it'll take me to the page where on the left-hand side, it'll give me all the bank transactions. So if you've uploaded it through a CSV file, it'll fetch it in here, or if you've basically retrieved them from your Connect Bank module. And on the right-hand side, it's going to find matches with system transactions, and it's going to match it based on the amount and the type of transaction. So whether it was a deposit or a payment, and the amount as well. So some of the information on the top right here, if you click on edit info, so the ending balance and the ending date, you can always adjust here if you need to make some corrections. If you're connected directly to a bank using the payment or rather the bank gateway, the banking terminal, you can go options and refresh results. That'll basically fetch the latest bank transactions. Or if you're doing the CSV upload, you can go here and it'll upload the bank statements. You can go to the upload bank statements module rather. So let's go ahead, let's start reconciling some of the transactions here. So this one here, it found a match. So this bank transaction was matched to this customer deposit. It was matched again based on amount and type. If I click on the arrow here, it's actually going to pull up the transaction for me. So I can see the details of the transaction. I can confirm that it looks okay. Just click on this. And once it's reconciled, it'll actually add it to the bottom here for reconcile transactions. If I click on show details, it'll show me the details of the reconciliation. So the bank transaction on the top, and then what it was reconciled with at the bottom. At the top here, I've actually set up a rule. So for any transactions that I notice occur all the time, or they always come in with certain descriptions, I can set up rules. This will make reconciliation a little bit easier. So basically, a rule will catch that transaction, and it'll offer me to create an entry right away and reconcile it. So this rule caught this, the coffee rule basically worked. It saw that this was a Starbucks purchase. So I'm going to click on here, and then it's going to create the transaction and reconcile it all at once. This transaction here was actually matched with two transactions in the system. So if I click on here, it's actually going to pull up the two that it matched to. So I can just select which one I want to reconcile to, and then click on reconcile. And I can continue with the remaining. So I'm going to reconcile this, and you can see here as you're reconciling, the figures get updated here. So your cleared balance is slowly changing. So for this last two here, it actually didn't find a match, but I know that this 1,000 transaction, it's actually matched to two transactions in the system. So if I go to options, search transactions, actually there are two transactions that I need to reconcile here. So basically what I can do is from this window, I can actually find the two transactions. So if I basically just do search, so if I could just click on advanced search here, and then if I just do date, and if I can see the transaction date, it's actually March 4th. So if I click on March 4th, I'm going to make this equals to, so it actually pulled up the two transactions. I can also go by amount as well. So if I know the amount of the transactions, I can find them. So this window actually pulls up, again, all the transactions for this bank account. So I can select off the two transactions that I want to reconcile here. So you can see it added up 500 and 500, made it 1,000, and it balanced it. So if I click on reconcile, so now that one's reconciled. So actually, if I click on show details here,
it's actually showing that this bank transaction was reconciled to 2 system transactions. And this last one here, what I can actually do is there's no transaction in the system, but I can create one using the shortcut. I can go options. I can either do a transfer or a journal entry. So if I go journal entry, what it'll do is it'll automatically create a line. It'll create a transaction for the account that I'm reconciling. And what I need to do is just add another line, an offset line that'll balance the entry. So I can just click on add here, make sure my account is selected. Let's go ahead, select this, click on add. Now the entry is balanced. So I can click on reconcile in the top right here, click OK. And now I notice there's actually a difference here of the ending balance. So I think I've actually calculated it wrong. So what I can do is I can actually change this. So let's go ahead, let's edit the info, and let me make sure I've adjusted this correctly. So let me just go ahead, make sure I've done this correctly. So let me just change this. There we go. So now I've corrected it. So that was in the case of if I initially put it in incorrectly. So now it's actually saying a difference of 0. So if everything looks okay, the ending balance is good, I reconciled all the transactions, I can click on finish now. And what it'll do is it'll close the reconciliation for that month, and it'll give a reconciliation report. So I can open this reconciliation report to pull up the details of what I reconciled. So it'll pull up your beginning balances, your ending balances. It'll show what I reconciled, what was left unreconciled. It'll even have a reconciliation change report on the second page here. So in case any of these transactions are unreconciled, or if they're changed or anything like that, they'll actually appear on this reconciliation change report. So it's a good way to audit the changes in reconciled transactions. I can always access these reports for any reconciliation that I've performed. Just click on the Bank Reconciliation Center. And from here, you can basically select your bank account and pull up any reports that show your reconciled months.